All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are starting the weekend early here on Sportswire Radio. And the reason that we are starting the weekend early tonight because we have yet another world champion in the house here. And he is certainly one of the biggest people we've had on here, figuratively and literally, in Sportswire Radio history. And our guest here just most recently won the Iowa Midwestern Federation Championship. He is the leader of the House of Wolves. He has been the two-time U.S. champion there. And when it comes to the likes of DKW, they have seen a lot of this man. And certainly, if you were from any other company out there in the wrestling world, you certainly want to pay close attention to this man. He needs no further introduction, but we're going to give it to him anyway because this is what we do on Sportswire Radio. So with that, wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show, the IMF heavyweight champion of the world and the leader of the House of Wolves, Omen. The champ is here, my friend. Congratulations, first of all.
Thanks, Tom. Hey, thanks for having me on.
All right. Well, certainly the pleasure is definitely all ours here tonight on Sports Wire Radio, but obviously very excited to have you. I mean, we kind of know you a little bit because obviously, I guess you might want to say over the past month, we've certainly seen you in a few different streams with a company we do work with called Wrestling Championship Entertainment, aka WCE. And we've certainly seen you say a few things toward their champion, Craven Rage, but I'll get to them in a little while. But for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio, talk about most importantly to you what it means now to be the IMF World Heavyweight Champion.
See, Tom, I've been telling the truth since I've started wrestling. I said I was going to be world champion. I said I was going to be U.S. champion. I said I was going to beat Soldier like no one else can. I've been truthful on my word since I've been here. I predict these things. I predicted I was going to beat Anthony Steele. I predicted I was going to beat Matthew Forsaken. I did the same with Soldier.
All right. Well, certainly you did do that. Certainly was quite a war here. And I guess this was a long time in the making because you and Soldier, I mean, you had this truce for a while. I guess what about a 5 or 6 month truce or so here as we got into season 2 from last season. And I mean, talk about why were you so successful then at Rumble in the Yard? And obviously, I mean, a lot of offense in this match. And I highly recommend, if you haven't seen this match, clearly you need to get your head examined. But also, please go to the IMF's YouTube page where you can watch the match and so all the great other content the company has. But why were you then so successful in this match? And I guess you knew something that everybody else did, and even some of the interferences that went back and forth. It seemed like it was going to go one way to his, one way yours, and talk about that there for those that are listening and watching.
It's all about the mind games, Tom. I don't know if you saw the match fully.
I did. I actually did watch the match. Yes, I did.
But you saw the person I had in the corner with the mask, correct?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Oh, I know he's going to get a little personal here, a little personal towards Soldier. You went there. Talk about it.
See, a long time ago, me and Soldier were tag team partners. We're called the Foundation. And I just got tired of living in his shadow. And he cost me my second U.S. title reign. So he took something from me. I took something from him. And I took his son. His son got in his head and cost him the match. It's all about the mind games, Tom.
Well, you certainly went a place that I guess most people wouldn't think, although we were on the air Sunday and Craven Rage referred to James Marshall's family. So maybe we're missing something. But I mean, why go down that route? Was it something that you knew that had to be done? Could you have had the same outcome before I get to comments? If you didn't go there and involve Soldier's son there?
I was always going to go there. What's every man's greatest weakness? Their family, their children. For a man, I'll give Soldier this. For a man who doesn't have many weaknesses, he exposed one. That's all I needed. That's all I need for anyone in WCE, DKW.
Oh, anyway, listen. I mean, listen. I'll say this: I'm a huge John Wick fan, and what was the weakness of John Wick throughout the movies? It was the loss of his wife, and he didn't have much of a family other than his wife. I mean, so yeah, I mean, anybody in any type of walk of life, if you go and certainly invoke their family, you're going to take their vulnerabilities, and that's what you correctly did, I guess.
It'd be stupid of me not to capitalize on that. Wouldn't you think?
Well, that's up to you. It's your call. I mean, obviously, you know Soldier better than me. You know Soldier better than most. I mean, you certainly know what it takes to win. So, who am I to argue with you? I mean, ladies and gentlemen, look at the size of you, right? Am I going to argue with you and say, hey, you should do it differently? I mean, you're the guy with the gold. I mean, so at the end of the day, who am I to judge? Who am I to say because you won?
I know no one's going to argue with me. No one dares to argue with me.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I wouldn't. I mean, certainly, Mr. Craven Rage, if you're out there, have you seen Omen Black and what he looks like? I mean, certainly stay tuned for that. But let me get to some comments here because people do want to say hello. They want to talk. Adonis Felios here from Wrestling Championship Entertainment, another champion, the AIW champion, who's going to be in the ring here this weekend, says Evening Tom and Omen Black. Skulls the Soul Hunter. I'm sure you've heard a lot about this Skulls guy. I'm actually wearing my Skulls shirt here. Well, certainly we get an Omen Black shirt soon as well. It says, hello, gentlemen. And then the man that we just referred to, Soja himself, the former champion, you used my son. You no good piece of crap. You made this personal. Now I'll be back for what's mine. What's your
Didn't
response to
you?
that?
If I'm corrected, I've heard through the grapevine and IMF that you took some time off to go for mental issues. So now I know what these mental issues are. So you can tuck your tail between your legs and run off. Take the time you need. But just know, you're not getting another shot at this. This is mine now. This is the house's now.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you about Soldier again in a few minutes, but I did want to mention something because you've got the gold now. And obviously, this is the first time you've held the title. And I asked you a few minutes ago what it meant to you to be the champion. But let me ask you then, what do you plan to do as champion that maybe Soldier didn't do and anything differently? What would you do now as champion versus when he was the champion?
Not show weakness at all. I'm not going to expose any weaknesses I have, if there is any.
All right. Well, I mean, that's a good answer. I mean, I'm certainly not going to argue that. Our friend Adam Morgan, another fellow wrestler out there, has got a big show coming up May the 6th, and he'll be in the ring once again. Another show, I think, coming up in think the end of June, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll get to details in a second, says, oh, snap, woo. His calling card is certainly woo. He just says woo, and every time I see him, whether it's on Facebook or a DM message, and in fact, he's giving me the dates right here. So we've got May 6th is the Southern Discomfort Crawfish Festival. June 24th is Summer Bash, and this is going to be stacked with all types of wrestling talent. So you name a company, you name a wrestler, they're going to be there. So maybe Adam, if you want to invite Omen Black, look at the size of him. Maybe June 24th, see if he's doing anything. Adonis Felio says WC Stars is finally in your channel. Okay, well, where is the rest of the locker room? That's my
Didn't I
question.
call you out, Adonis? You
I
said
was going to say that. And where's the rest of the locker room, by the way? Where is the resident rock star Sean Jovi? Where is Nicholas Crenson? Where is Darkfire? Where is Tyler Ark? And where is the man that you've certainly been going back and forth with? That is certainly Mr. Craven Rage. We'll have to see if there'll be a rage against the machine here when it comes to our friends over at the IMF shortly. But I do want to talk about, because you said something that was interesting here. And obviously, if people for the first time are listening and watching you here, and I want everybody to go to the IMF's page also on YouTube. Please support all the great things that our friends over at the IMF do. That is Iowa Midwestern Wrestling Federation. You can support them at IMF Wrestling 667. Nearly 1,000 subscribers join the group here. But you guys now have all the gold for the House of Wolves. You got the tag belts, you got the US, and you've got the world belt. So basically, you guys are what the Bloodline used to be. You guys are arguably the most premier and dominant faction of any wrestling company and anywhere in this sport. So I mean, what does that mean to you in the House of
I
Wolves
gotta,
having
I
all
gotta
the gold?
correct you there, Tom. We're missing
Okay.
one. We're missing one belt. It's the junior heavyweight title, but such a toy to me. I think even Nicholas Crenson couldn't even win it.
Well, I don't know about that at this point. I mean, in fact, it might be so far for Nicholas Crenson. He might have to buy a belt, according to Skulls. That's really, or I think it was James Marshall. The only way he can go and actually buy a belt is if he goes to Walmart. So I wouldn't go that far, but I mean,
Somehow he'd still lose it.
or maybe so. Fair play. I
They
mean,
get
I guess
lost. They
you're.
get lost
Well, he
by
ain't
somebody puts
taking
it in the
your
bag. They
title.
get
Put it that
lost.
way. He ain't taking your title anytime soon, right? That we can agree on.
This title weighs more than Craven does. I don't even
Ooh,
think even Crenson probably couldn't even carry it.
all right. Well, I mean, fair play, but I mean, still, I think the point stands that you guys are probably the most dominant group in all of wrestling right now. Because again, there's very few groups that have the amount of titles, the amount of gold, and the amount of depth in your roster. I mean, just talk about your dominance then.
See, I promised Freddie, Jordan, and Uric greatness if they join the house. And like I said, I'm a man of my word, and I've proved nothing but my word is my bond. And look at them. Freddie Daniels, longest IMF tag team champion. Jordan, briefcase winner and tag team champion. Uric, U.S. champion now. I've just been nothing but telling the truth.
Do you think in the IMF that there are people that have just doubted you, and almost it's kind of like, if you remember as a kid, they would always say something called the boy that cried wolf? Almost, is that what this is, where nobody believed you, nobody wanted to hear it? And I mean, talk about that.
I don't think it's they don't believe me. I think just didn't want to believe it. They didn't want to believe that Omen could beat Soldier. They didn't want to believe that Freddie could beat Jimmy Payton. They didn't want to believe that Uric could beat Jason. They don't believe any of that.
So they only wanted to hear what they wanted to think, but in the reality of it is that it's not the truth, is what you say, correct?
The sheep, the sheep of the IMF, they want to believe whatever lets them have good dreams at night. But now, as their new world champion, they're gonna know the IMF's gonna run a little bit differently.
All right, well, we're going to certainly find out. I want everybody also to follow the Iowa Midwestern Wrestling Federation on Instagram at IMF_wrestling. Please support the company. And Skull says he's part of WC. Technically, yes, you're right. But actually, Mr. Omen Black, I guess the bat signal has been called, because I have somebody in here that we just referred to a couple of minutes ago, and they have tuned in here. And that's the man called Craven Rage, who's going to be in the ring here coming up this weekend against James Marshall, aka Catalyst, the Interstate Openweight Champion. He is, of course, our all-out champion here of WC. And Craven is in the house, and he says maybe a veiled shot at you. I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, to all the world, acknowledge the rule: the longest defending reigning champion in the history of the yards. What do you say to that, champ?
Craven, any yard that I step in, I'm the true ruler. If I go into your yard, I'm gonna be the ruler of that yard. You're not gonna stop me. And I'm gonna wait. I know it's gonna take you some time to come up with a Roman Reigns promo for him to say it and broadcast it. So I'll wait a week, Craven. So you can go ahead, cut your Roman Reigns promos, write it all down, get it nice, get it polished, and I'll wait. So you want to sit
Champ,
there? You want to sit there and claim that Catalyst, you did the whole missionary promo from Roman Reigns you did to John Cena. Like I didn't see that. You also want to shoot on me at the end of your match with the Packer. You did my move. Really?
that tugs at you a little bit. I could see all of a sudden we were having a, maybe in a way for you, a laid back conversation. All of a sudden you just kind of took the title to the side, and kind of the way your eyes are looking right now, and you got some fire in you right now. I mean, you seem like that Craven upset you a little bit. I mean, tell us how you feel, really, champ.
Craven, like I said, you're a coward. You hide behind that mask. You hide behind that belt of yours, little bedazzled belt you got. That means nothing until you step in the ring with a true competitor like me.
So are you saying then that the opponents that he faced off with, such as Killer Rabbit, Darkfire, Nicholas Crenson, JDT, a guy who doesn't even work there anymore, Sean Jovi. We'll get to Mr. Jovi certainly in a little while, but are you
They couldn't
saying that
lace my boots or hold my jock.
okay, that was what I was trying to ask you. So those opponents you don't think so much of them.
None of them can hold my jock, like I said.
What do you think though about two other names? I have one of them that's actually here with us. I'll get to in a second, but the name that came up a couple times here tonight, and I'm actually wearing his shirt by coincidence, is Skulls. What do you make of this guy's Skulls though, and maybe his threats to Craven Rage and
He's
just what he
irrelevant.
said? So he's irrelevant. You don't even think this guy means anything.
He means nothing. Like I've not seen any of his work.
Both of them.
Does he wrestle?
He cuts promos. He's good at that, it seems.
Oh, so he's just a promo artist, not a true competitor.
He's a soul collector, apparently. He hunts souls. Have you ever heard of a soul hunter before? I mean, I've asked this question a lot, the last couple of months on Sportswire. I mean, have you ever met a soul hunter or a guy that collects souls?
Well, I guess business must be pretty bad for him.
Ooh. So it's
Yeah.
not.
I've been seeing comments where he's supposed to show up at WCE. Win.
Well, I mean, would you want him? Well, let me ask you a question. Let me throw a total curveball out here before I get to more comments. I mean, do you think that he would have the intestinal fortitude to maybe stand up to, let's say, the competition in the IMF?
Chucky O'Malley is one of the worst wrestlers that I hate in IMF, and he would beat his ass.
Wow. Okay. Okay. All right. I get that. Certainly.
Better yet, I'll get Soldier's son to whoop his ass.
Well, we're really going there, boy. This is the second time we've referenced Soldier's son here. All right. Fair enough here. Let me get to more comments because people want to talk to you. I want to first of all get, though, to another guy, C2K. Now, C2K, there's content out there of him. This guy was a Puerto Rican world champion. He's involved in a company called the RWA. You might or might not have heard of them. They're kind of an upstart company here in upstate New York. And C2K has been around the game a long time, 30-year veteran, certainly starting his comeback tour like a lot of other veterans right now in this sport. And, I mean, do you think C2K is worthy competition? Do you think this is a guy you think of in any way? I mean, what do you make of a 30-year veteran in C2K, former Puerto Rican champion, toured the country, and is going to be in Tennessee Backyard Wrestling later this summer as well as WC? What do you make of the RWA C2K?
Never heard of him.
Okay, so he's another guy, right? Don't know much about
veteran, him. Never heard of him.
He said he's a 30-year veteran. I mean, he's been on here twice. 30-year veteran.
I guess I'm a 40-year veteran. I'm only 26 or 28.
Is that dog years you do that on?
See, I can say things too. I never heard of him.
Well, I'm glad that you feel that way because you're telling us how you feel. That's why we have you here on Sportswire Radio. I almost have to say it, champ. I guess in a way, maybe this is kind of our own twisted tribute to Jerry Springer, obviously, who died today, unfortunately, at the age of 79. And somebody messaged me today. They said, Tom, you are almost kind of like wrestling's version of Jerry Springer. So, I mean, maybe not. But we actually do have some similarities in one way. We both have a news background. I actually have a background in news here in New York, and he has it in Ohio. But that's here nor there. Let me come back to Craven Rage. He's got a couple of comments. Omen Black, you try with this so-called House of Black. I guess he's referring to the House of Wolves.
Hey, listen here, Craven. I can actually pay homage to who I get inspired by. You won't claim Roman Reigns.
Are you saying Mr. Reigns wouldn't want to claim Mr. Rage?
I don't even think Mr. Reigns knows who Craven Rage is.
Yeah, we'll have to ask Mr. Reigns that question, and certainly, I'll have to get back to you on that. I've faced many opponents. I have put many opponents on the shelf, like Kodak Kid, who's got a neck injury, and I ran bigger opponents than you out of this business. What do you say to that?
You're facing no one. You're facing nobodies. Now come to IMF and get in the ring with me, and we'll see if you talk that shit now.
So I guess then you're almost saying that he's the equivalent to, and again, I don't want to spoil anything because people will kill me on this, but there's a character in a movie called John Wick 4 called Mr. Nobody. He's essentially a tracker. Are you saying that Craven Rage's opponents are all Mr. Nobodies?
Pretty much.
All right. Well, I had to ask to confirm. Soja says, "Watch your mouth." I think we're referring to his son here, I believe, if I'm not
Make, you
mistaken.
know what I gotta say? Make me. Next comment.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to the next comment because you're a big man. Adonis Felio says, "WC welcomes fresh new competition." Do you think that's the case?
I've called you Adonis. You said nothing. Next comment.
Okay, all right, but he's saying that they accept fresh new competition.
I've called him out in Tyler Ark. And where's Tyler? Nowhere to be found. Adonis, this is the first time you ever said anything, and you're not even going to comment back with me calling you out.
All right, but C2K's got a comment though for you. Now that I want to read because C2K's been on here as Sportswire a couple of times, and he certainly when he speaks, he's an actor by the way, and a rapper by the way. He's in movies, he's in doing music. I mean, you can say what you want, but he says, "Now you did. Never heard of you either, but nice to meet you. My name is C2K."
Okay.
Well, at least he said, "Nice to meet you." Omen Black, this is my 14-year return back to the ring. All right, so I want to bring you up to speed. I know obviously it doesn't mean so much to you, but we'll talk about the IMF in a second. But Skulls basically was doing this whole dance. He was a pro wrestler. He had some things happen, personal life, family members, different things happen. Make a long story short, last year, basically decides he's making a comeback to the ring. He's training with a company called the EWF in California. I've had a who's who of people in there. And he's basically about 15 or so years away from the sport. And he's making his return to the ring later this year, but is also stopping at WC's show on July the 1st. You have any impressions on Skulls and the comeback tour? Do you want to see Skulls' comeback tour come to you or the IMF or anywhere else you go square off with?
I think him and Craven have a lot in common, but the thing that they have the most in common, they're two cowards hiding behind masks.
Okay, but one does collect souls and hunts them, though. That's the one difference, I would say.
What's that?
There's one difference between the two of them. One collects souls and hunts them. That's all.
I mean,
Okay.
They both face no ones.
Well, that's why I asked you. Are they Mr. Nobodies? Omen Black, I've seen your work and you're not ready. He sees next
Listen here,
victim.
Craven, I'm going to say this.
Okay.
You're as good as a wrestler as Chris Benoit was a father.
Whoa. Time out. Did I think that I hear what you just said in basically comparing Craven Rage as a wrestler to Chris Benoit as a father? Did I just hear that?
Yes, you did.
Wow. Okay. You know what? Certainly, maybe we are going into Jerry Springer territory on Sportswire already because I'm going to plead the fifth on that comment. I'm going to walk away from it, but I want everybody to follow our friends over at WC Wrestling Championship Entertainment at WC Heat, also WCHeat.com, also Facebook, YouTube as well. If you're tuned in tonight on Sportswire Radio, which I know you are, my name, which you may or may not know by now, which is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I do think Mr. Black knows a little bit about me, at least, because we are worldwide around the world, and we appreciate the time that the IMF has given us. But if you like what you hear from us on Sportswire Radio, I would hope that you give us a like and follow on Facebook at Sportswire Radio, YouTube at Sportswire Radio, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our content on sportnarium.com/play, which I am the programmer for. I also DJ, play some music there. So in between different things, you want to listen to some music, some talk, we're on sportnarium.com/play. And I'll be back tomorrow, champ. I will actually be back with the CCW Cutlery Championship Wrestling in the UK, 8 p.m. British Standard Time with Dustin Hart, formerly of the CWO's Tag Team Champions in CCW. And certainly Mr. Dustin Hart will have a lot to say. And I'll also be right afterwards with the victorious Wildfire Nate Reese from the LWF's Crossfire. So a busy show ahead tomorrow night. I hope everybody tunes in. But right now we are having a great time with the brand new reigning, defending IMF champion. His name is Mr. Omen Black. And more comments here for you, champ. In due time, Omen, in due time. Okay, well, we'll certainly get to that. But I kind of wanted to ask you, speaking about companies that you guys have gone to war with, and it's been, I think, a really intriguing kind of war. And I had a chance to watch some of this here over the past few days on your YouTube page at IMF Wrestling 667. Please support all the great things the Iowa Wrestling Federation does. Is the U and the DKW. I mean, certainly this has been a war unlike no other war I have seen. Forget about WCW versus the then WWF. Forget about ECW and the remake. Forget about AEW and these different companies they've worked with. I mean, You and DKW have gone to battle here, and the IMF found a way to win 3-2 because of your victory over their one of champions that they have called Matthew Forsaken, and you put him through a table. And what you did afterwards, you kind of gave him that slap across the back. And I mean, talk about how this all unfolded with you and the DKW, and you guys went in their building, their house, and beat them. And talk about what's in store for the future and everything else for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio.
I just, like I said, I've had to prove Matt's wrong. He said he's going to beat me. I said, I'm going to put you through that table. One way or another, you're going through a table. That's what I did. Now, I didn't expect him to put me through a TV. I didn't expect him to hit me in the head with a kendo stick multiple times. I didn't expect any of that. I didn't expect him to be that strong either. So I give him that.
Well, you know
But
what? I gotta say, from watching him in the ring, he doesn't look like he would obviously be as strong as you, but he's got almost that they say like almost like he's got that plastic man type of body where he's very agile. He probably uses his body in the best way possible. So maybe that's his strength, and not that you underestimated him. I don't think you did, but I think in what he was able to do in the ring, he probably knew his strengths more than most, and maybe that's why he was able to do those things to you.
perhaps. But I I knew what I was getting myself into going to DKW. I think IMF did too. Um, I didn't expect my my brother Jordan Nets to lose the gesture though. That clown. That was a real disappointment to me in the house.
Talk about though going into that environment, right? It's one thing if they came to you guys and you did what you did to Matthew Forsaken, but talk about going into their building all the way to the state of Ohio and being able to one up them. And I mean, talk about how difficult that was and going into that environment, an environment you guys aren't used to, and to being able to have the success that you guys had. Talk about that for us.
It wasn't hard at all, actually. As IMF, we kind of just put our nuts on the table and said, "We're here. This is our yard." So any company we step in, this is our yard. DKW couldn't stop us. WC won't stop us.
All right, so let me ask you a follow up on that, and I'll come back to WC. But there is something we do a lot of stuff with sports. I've interviewed a lot of college basketball players. We have one of my guests on my regular Friday shows here. We do for our American audience, who's a analyst of mine, and he was a college basketball player. And sometimes I ask this question, whether it's to coaches, to players, people who have been in these big environments like the NCAA tournament and these big conference games, and maybe what helped you guys in a way, and tell me your thoughts on this, champ, is that you went into their environment and you had no pressure. And in fact, it was them who had the pressure. They had to defend their turf, their territory. So in a way, that DKW were the ones that had the pressure because they didn't want to lose in their environment. They didn't want to go out there and have to go face their audience, their fans, and say that they lost. And maybe that's what helped you guys. Do you think that that was a possibility, that actually the pressure was on DKW and you guys kind of went in there and almost, no pun intended, with house money, and whatever happened happened because you were in an environment that was unknown to you guys?
Absolutely. They had everything to lose. Like a foreign company coming to their home turf, their company, their arena, and just basically dog walked them. And since Dirty Donnie's match to my match, yeah, they had a couple fluke wins over the IMF due to Jordan and Felix Jason. Fluke wins. But after that, we dog walked them. They had everything to lose. Now, come July, they're going to lose again. They're going to have everything to lose.
So you would say then going into July 1st, as we're still weeks away from that, that the pressure is even further on them because they've already taken the L and in their building, in their environment. So they have to go think about this the next couple of weeks. Because don't forget, you guys aren't squaring off with them for a while. So now we've got a little bit of downtime here over these next few months. And they're the ones now that have to sit with this each and every day. They have to go sit there and thinking about, you know what? We lost to outsiders. They beat us in our building, in our environment, and how do we go from here? So you think in a way that now actually they're the ones that now have to sit and think about this here, and almost there's an expression that somebody used to use that always struck most to me when it comes to these environments. You have to almost sull. Have to almost take it all in, and it's almost like a bad feeling. And I mean, give me your thoughts on that.
They're gonna have to sit there. Since we've been there, they've been sitting there, just feeling so bad for themselves, feeling so bad that they couldn't defend their home, their arena. That such a dominant force came so quick and left and destroyed everything. Destroyed their three top guys. But yet somehow their jokes of characters they got two fluke wins on us. Now come July, they have more to lose because I'm gonna take the world title from Matt.
Ooh, so are you saying you're going to be Omen 2 belts?
No, I'm not gonna be Omen two belts because I'm not gonna take anything from Soldier. He took that nickname. I'm never gonna use that nickname. Never gonna even bring up Soldier.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I was testing you there a little bit, but I do have a comment from the management of Wrestling Championship Entertainment. I would imagine you'd like me to read this comment off, so let me do that for you for those that are listening and watching. And the management from WC would like to say, at this moment, the WCE owner and commissioner both have not offered a green light for these two heavy hitting champions to face off. We will release our joint cards as we get closer. All roster members and fans will find out who will be facing off with each other as we decide and offer match invites. Stay tuned to see what is coming up for WC for the 2023 season. So, one more time, I'll read this off for those that are listening and watching. At this moment, the WC owner and commissioner have not offered a green light to release heavy hitting champions, including Mr. Black and Mr. H, to face off. We will release our joint cards as we get closer. All roster members and fans will find out who will be facing off with each other as we decide and offer match invites. Stay tuned to see what is coming up for WC for the rest of the season. Your reactions to that, Omen Black?
That irritates me. That irritates the fuck out of me.
Why?
Because I saw someone that I know that I could humble, that need to be humbled. And now it's being stripped away from me. Because management couldn't figure something out. Why do we need management? Why do we need management to decide that Omen Black could beat Craven's ass? Now, I don't know what that means for Omen Black for WCE. I don't know.
Well, what would you like? What would you want?
I think the obvious answer is Craven Rage. But if I'm prohibited from having Craven Rage, who would be man enough to step in the ring with me from WCE?
Well, I'll ask that in a second, but do you think maybe a neutral environment here would be better? Do you think that's what it is? Maybe it's the concern that there'd be some heavy-handed tactics. Is that? I mean, I'm just trying to figure this out here. Would a neutral environment maybe suit both parties, or what do you say to that?
I have no idea, Tom. I truly don't have any idea.
Okay, all right.
But something needs to be figured out very soon.
Well, I do have somebody that might actually have some interest in certainly talking to you. I know that he is going to be speaking with somebody that you've had some epic wars with, and that is the reigning, defending Ronus Championship Wrestling Champion, the resident rock star Sean Jovi. By the way, please follow all the great things he does on his YouTube page. Of course, the resident rock star Jovi's vlog. Definitely make sure you follow him. And another champion is here. And I mean, what do you want to say to Sean Jovi, who's going to be in the ring here this weekend as well in WC against AIW champion Adonis Felios? Obviously, we know that he and your longtime nemesis could be squaring off very soon. But what do you want to say to Sean Jovi, the resident rock star?
I may not like Soldier, but for IMF, I hope he whoops your ass. At least he'll get a win over someone.
Wait. But he's a champion too, though, Sean Jovi. I mean, he has shown who he is. He's a defending champion. I mean, he's going out to wrestle. I mean, I think he deserves some certainly respect, right? I mean, Sean Jovi has shown that he's
He can
willing to
wrestle.
face. He's been around a long time.
He
I
can
would say
wrestle.
Sean Jovi, not only is he great on the stick, he can certainly go in the ring. What he did in his last match against Billiards, his epic war with Darkfire late last season, his wars with Craven Rage, I mean, he can go. I mean, there's no question about it.
He could go. But I don't want to. Now you got me in a spot where I have to talk about him. But I know Soldier GP, he whooped his ass twice on Sunday.
All right. Well, I mean, I do have some people that are certainly
But he's
all
got
of
a
a
nice
sudden.
belt, Jovi. He's got a nice looking belt.
You got a nice belt too, by the way. I was looking at your belt actually not too long ago. You have a nice belt. I mean, your belt certainly is one of the more premier prizes in this sport. I mean, I would definitely want to take that belt. Actually, it looks very similar to the CCW belt, the Colory Championship Wrestling belt. I don't know if you've seen their championship, but certainly looks in a way very similar to it. But I do have some comments here. James Marshall, Mr. Craven Rage's opponent this weekend, says, "Hello, gents," checking in. Also, this individual says, "Evening, gentlemen." And then Craven Rage certainly here has, "You are not worthy to face the greatest."
If I'm not worthy, then why'd you shoot on me at the end of your match? Come on now, make it make sense.
I don't know. I mean, would that be Craven Rage should answer that? Should he answer that for us tonight? Why was that the case?
If that's the truth, Craven, and you want to shoot on me, but you don't, but now you can't wrestle me, so now you want to shoot more. That just shows you're even more of a coward.
I mean, look, I'm going to let Mr. Rage certainly answer that. I do want to give a shout out to actually somebody, by the way, Omen, that's a fan of yours from the state of California. No, I'm not talking about skulls. A woman, Anastasia Riznia. She is a big wrestling fan. I might have mispronounced her last name. I believe it's Riznia, if I'm not mistaken. She can certainly try to correct me, but she was watching your stuff and she was excited that you were coming on. She was also very happy that you had won the world title from Soldiers, and she was very impressed and wanted a shout out, and I wanted to gladly say hello for her to you. So obviously, hopefully, you'd be kind enough to say hello to a fan of yours. But I'll move away from that. But I mean, so where is the future for you in the IMF title? Now, if we saw it Rumble and the Yard, it seems like your next opponent isn't going to be Soja. It's going to be Prince. I mean, Prince certainly made his case clear, and we were all a little bit surprised about what happened there. And I'm going to kind of tie into the ownership situation in a second here first. But I mean, what now do we expect? Which I would imagine to be your first title defense or one of your first title defenses here coming up with Prince. I mean, Prince here certainly kind of left you there hanging a little bit there at the end of the show. And talk about that and
You caught
where
me
the
off
future.
guard. That's
Talk
all it
about it.
was. See, I made him run for 8 months from a simple chair shot. One chair shot. And he ran, took his ball, and went home. But now he wants to show up at the Rumble. I don't know. I don't know what that says about him. But I can tell you at Bash of the Barn, I'm still going to be champion. He's not going to stop me. He's not going to have his little goon there. Because, as you can see, I have the number game.
I was going to ask you, I mean, how could Prince really counter that? I mean, you've got the numbers game. You've got the obviously premier faction in this sport right now with the House of Wolves. And I guess there's this whole situation with Soja and his son. I mean, how does Prince even have a chance? Are you saying then that Prince should just bother not showing up, just take the count out loss and forfeit? That way he doesn't say you have to go through all that pain and destruction you're going to put him through. Is that what you're saying here basically tonight? That Prince should just not bother showing up and just basically save himself the beating and just forfeit the match?
No, that's not what I'm saying. All I want him to show up.
Oh, you do? So you do want him to show up. Why do you want him to
Because
show up, though?
he had the nerve to hit me with that chair on the top of my head and on my back. See, I got up. I'm still
That's good.
here.
You're a big man.
I didn't take 8 months to run away. Now, in that match, since I'm going to defend it, I think I should pick the stipulations, and I'm going to pick no holds barred.
Wait, are you saying here officially, for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, as we come up to Bash at the Barn May 27th, and please go to IMF Wrestling 667 on YouTube to actually watch the show and the match itself, that you're picking the stipulation here tonight live, that you and Prince for your championship is going to be no holds barred?
Correct.
So basically, I stand by my point a few minutes ago here, is that Prince really shouldn't show up if it's you and him no holds barred, because look at the size of you, champ, and look at the size of him. I mean, I don't really know how this would be a contest.
The only thing bad about it is talking to management. There's going to be a war between me and Prince, but now there's a hopeless soul, a standby that's in that match too. I don't know who, but it's supposed to be a triple threat. They just better not get in the way, or they're going to face the same fate as Prince.
I'm going to come back to that in a second, but I do have people that want to say hello and give their comments in. I have a lot of people tuned in. I want to thank everybody for tuning in here. But the WCE guys would like to say, I'll shoot Craven with 2 barrels and 12 bullets at dead or alive. All right, here. Sean Joby, the resident rocker, says the only thing worse than a cocky champion is a cocky champion from Iowa. LOL. You have a response to that?
You wear a wig to the ring. Next comment.
All right. Well, I mean, hey, this is no wig here. For those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, my hair is actually on my head. But hey, here nor there. Wisconsin is the place to be. Maybe in that '70s show. I mean, I guess, but I don't know if you would agree that it's
no
the place to be.
No one said that ever in the history of ever.
No comment. I'm gonna plead the fifth on that.
Look at Aaron Rodgers. Where'd he go?
New Jersey, technically. Well, the New York Jets. Yeah, I mean, you know, but to the defense of the WC fans, they could say, well, how did Brett Favre do in a Jets uniform? But let's move on from that, because it's not football season. It's wrestling season here, IMF and WCE season. I'm the greatest, but I'm just that good. And about stepping in my yard, I know that management at this time is not allowing us to face each other because they know how dangerous I am. So they are only protecting you from me. Is that a fair statement?
Really, Craven? You think I need protection from you? You little pipsqueak.
What about that killer rabbit though that he took out and killed that rabbit? I mean, what did you think of that though?
That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
So you didn't like it then? You didn't think much of that killer rabbit?
No.
All right.
Talking about taking souls as a rabbit. Who sent him? That's why
we were trying to figure. You know, I'm glad you brought that up because we were trying to figure this out here. It was interesting about this killer rabbit. That killer rabbit had actually said that there was more people he was coming for in WC, but it's been remained to be seen here. So
I think it was management because they want to make Craven look strong and they sent someone weak.
So are you basically saying here that this was the equivalent of, how can I put this here in being as PC as I can? Think about it when in boxing sometimes you have a champion and the promoter will purposely put, let's say, how can I put this? Paper tigers in front of the fighter so they can more or less get a knockout and almost pad those stats. Is that what you're trying to say pretty much?
Correct.
All right, well, that's your opinion. Certainly those can kind of figure out what they think. Skull says here it's no Purple Rain. What's the Purple Rain reference here? Anybody? Okay, so we can
Prince.
move on.
He's talking about Prince.
Oh, okay, no Purple Rain. Oh, okay. I don't think he can sing like him either, but he might be dead like him after you.
He can't move like him either.
But yeah. I would say that if you get what you want on May the 27th and no holds barred, he might be just like Prince, dead then, right?
See, I like you, Tom. You get what Omen Black's about.
Listen, we do try on Sportswire. We're very fortunate that we've interviewed a lot of people and a lot of different people here on the show. And somebody actually messaged me just now appreciating the fact that I had mentioned the killer rabbit and that you had a good response to it. So actually there's somebody out there randomly that appreciated that. But that's here nor there. Craven Rage just says he's just better than you.
All right. You know, Monday Night Raw is in, what, a couple days? Friday Night SmackDown's tomorrow. Why don't you practice what Roman Reigns says, then come back at me?
And Backlash is next week in Puerto Rico, by the way. Next Saturday is Backlash, so a lot to go there. But another wrestler from WC has tuned in here. His name is Zero Deus, who, by the way, if you saw, had tricks spilled on over him. Tricks is for kids, I guess, right? Killer Rabbit is a big boy. He probably got the height advantage on Mr. Black. Is that Zero Day is saying that Killer Rabbit has the height advantage over you? I mean, I look at you, champ, and the size on you, and the strength that you have, and what you do
He
in that
can have
ring.
any advantage. It ain't gonna work.
Okay, all right. Well, you know what? We're gonna move
Now,
on now.
Zero, I was actually gonna say Zero. I was a fan of yours. I like his shtick he's got.
I do like Zero Deus. He can talk well on the mic. We had him on here. I was very impressed with what he brought to the table. I do think he's got some good ring skills. He's part of an interesting group, not quite the House of Wolves, but it's called Vector with Nicholas Crenson. So, I mean, I kind of like Zero Deus. I got a soft spot for him. There's something about him. He's kind of spooky, but he can move in the ring a little bit. He can talk on the mic. He's got some potential. So, I do think.
I think he should be the one running Vector, but that's just me.
Well, I mean, Nicholas Crenson, I mean, certainly in championship matches, I mean, his track record's about the same as what the Buffalo Bills, the
But
Atlanta Braves.
has he ever won though?
Well,
Zero has a
17
belt.
well, 17 years ago was the last time he won, which basically nobody here listening and watching, with the exception of Sean Jovi, because he's a veteran, right? And maybe C2K if he's still up, they would remember something like that. I mean, 17 years ago was a long time. So I mean, you think about sports history. I mean, all-time greatest choke artist. I mean, he's right up there with the Atlanta Braves of the '90s. I would still say the Buffalo Bills, the Minnesota Vikings in the 1970s go to 4 Super Bowls, don't win them. I mean, there's a whole list of teams in sports history. I mean, the Yankees have been to the postseason, I think, 10 times the last 14 years and have no World Series. They're choke artists right now these days, right? I mean, there's a whole list of teams in sports history that you could say a choke artist, and Nicholas Crenson is right up there. Is that a fair statement for me to make, champ?
All I'm saying is Zero has a belt. He should be running that old Vector.
So you think that Vector's being dragged down by Nicholas?
He's done more than Crenson's done. Has a belt.
But are you saying then that Crenson is actually dragging down Vector? He's holding back the likes of his Zero Day? Is
I
that
think
what
he's
you're telling
dragging
us?
down Zero.
So are you saying then that Nicholas Crenson is less
I
than
don't know
Zero
who that
Days?
dead skin guy is. I don't care about him.
I'm going to move on here because I'm going to actually lose it here. But we are here, though, with the IMF Wrestling's heavyweight champion of the world. And he is definitely not only a heavyweight, he is a super heavyweight. And his name is Omen Black. And Omen Black, of course, is doing a great job for the friends over here at the IMF. Their next big show is coming up here at May the 27th. But they also run weekly shows here each and every week. They are one of the premier wrestling companies around. It doesn't matter whether it's in a yard, whether it's in a ring, whatever else, a trampoline. The IMF has certainly become one of our favorites here very, very quickly here. And we're looking forward to more coverage here throughout the season because I'm excited. I'm fired up about Omen Black. And again, my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. We're about another 25 or 30 minutes or so with the champ. And very, very excited about the future of the IMF and especially the House of Wolves. So, I mean, let's talk about it then. What is the future of the House of Wolves here as we go into season 2? And what are some of your goals here coming up here? Now that you've conquered Soldier and have his championship, what are some of the goals here for you and the guys here in the IMF?
We're gonna do something that Craven Rage wants to be. The Bloodline. We have all the titles. We're not gonna lose them.
Well, you also have people aligned with you. You know, Craven, I would say one of the things that certainly Craven struggles with it. He doesn't really have any allies in WC. He doesn't really have any friends. He just seems to beat up everybody, and there really isn't anybody aligned with him in that locker room. Maybe Prince Charles, but like I don't really see Prince Charles aligned with him. He's a Craven fan, but even him, he's in a number 1 contendership against Darkfire for the All Out title, so he could be facing Craven Rage at the next show. So I mean, you've actually cultivated people under your wings, and you've taken them and given them gold and put them in big storylines. I mean, that's maybe the one difference I see. You have followers. He doesn't seem to have them at the moment.
He just faces nobodies after nobodies, or someone who's been washed up, or just people out of their prime. That's all he's been facing. But when a new challenger, a more dominant challenger, approaches himself to him, he just hides behind management?
Are you saying it's politics?
I'm saying is we just found out that the match can't happen right now. But yeah, he still keeps poking the bear.
Well, is it maybe fair to say though that you poked at him in a stream and that's why he's countering? Do you think
I
that
can
maybe
back up my pokes. Can he?
I don't know. I don't know that answer. You'd like to find out though, obviously, correct?
I think me and you both know I would.
Well, you're a big man. I'm certainly not going to bet against you at the moment, but maybe let me throw a counterpoint to this, and I have more comments, and I'll get
But
to everybody in a
I
second. Go
want to
ahead.
say
Go ahead.
this. I know no one in WC likes him. I can tell that off the bat just watching. So I don't know who keeps putting him with these nobodies. Or he's just getting just pure luck.
Well, James Marshall this weekend. I mean, they haven't squared off in 2 years. I mean, James Marshall. I'm gonna say this here. James Marshall, I think pound for pound is probably that best wrestler that they have in that company. What he does in the ring, I mean, the way he moves in the ring. I mean, what he and Crenson. I know it's Crenson, but what he did in the ring. I mean, not only at the last show, but even in few prior shows. In the past 2 years, I've watched WC. I mean, James Marshall, and I've said this. He's their floor general. I mean, James Marshall is probably pound for pound their best wrestler in that company.
Listen, I'm not knocking WC. They have some good talent. Don't get me wrong. They're not on my level. Crenson, Jovi, Catalyst, or Marshall, even Craven, they got skills. They're just not me. They can't beat me. They can't beat IMF. They can't.
All right, well, let me ask you a slight follow up, but I do have comments in here, so I'll get to them in a second. But do you think maybe this whole situation with Craven Rage is more not about you, but to the fact that all these outsiders have been challenging him and they want matches with him? And maybe to say, one might look at it and say, well, you know what? C2K's challenged him, Skulls has challenged him, and this Killer Rabbit challenged him. And then what about you? You're another outsider. I mean, maybe that's a way to look at it from Craven's standpoint that you're another outsider. You're another guy that wants a shot at him, and why you? I mean, is that one way maybe he might be looking at it?
Out of all those guys you named, I'm the one that actually could be dominant and beat him.
Well, you're the only one that's wrestling regularly. I will give you that. I mean, Skulls, we haven't seen in a ring since what? Obama was president, maybe George Bush. I mean, we've got what? C2K. I mean, 30-year veteran. But the question with C2K that he faces is, can he hang? Can he still go? And Killer Rabbit, nobody knows anything about. So, to your point, maybe it's because you're wrestling in that ring weekly and dominating.
I mean, if I was Craven Rage, I wouldn't want to pick a losing battle either. It'd be silly.
Well, I mean, I have a comment here first from somebody that's not involved with any of these companies, but I kind of want to put it out there to get your thoughts, and kind of maybe this might break the ice before I get to the regular scheduled comments here. One of my followers, Donnie Pepin, who, by the way, Toronto Maple Leafs fan, I believe the Maple Leafs had lost today. Condolences there on that. But Omen Black looking like Akeem, the African Dream, aka One Man Gang. Now, have you gotten this reference before? And I mean, are you at all related to the One Man Gang?
No.
Okay.
First time
Have
hearing
you
it.
gotten this reference before,
That's
though?
funny. That is funny.
You do look like him a little bit. You are big. I would have thought maybe a distant relative, maybe a cousin, maybe he's an uncle of yours. I mean, so no.
No.
Okay, that was a good one. Let me get some more comments here. Skulls basically compares Nicholas Cretton to the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, but the Cowboys haven't gotten close to anything of late. I mean, yeah, they've been to the postseason. My point was teams that like went to a championship game and didn't win. The New York Knicks, for the New York fans who are going to kill me for saying this, they would be an example in the 1990s, 2 NBA finals, 4 conference finals in an 8-year span, no championships. The Buffalo Bills, 4 straight Super Bowls, nothing. The Minnesota Vikings, who I had mentioned, the Atlanta Braves, 1 World Series in 15 years. Nicholas Crenson, 1 World Championship in 17 years. Maybe that's the best reference. I believe this is somebody you know very well. And he says, on top. Talk about your counterpart here in the House of Wolves.
Hello, Jordan. How's it going, brother? No, I'm glad that someone in the house is showing some respect. Actually, I'm glad that someone in the IMF is showing some respect besides that, the man I beat.
So why do you say that those in the IMF aren't paying respect to you? Is it because they might be afraid of you, or maybe they're just in their own thoughts? I mean, why do you say such a comment?
They may not know how to react to a soldier finally being beaten.
Well, you weren't surprised. You said it was coming, correct?
Correct.
So then shouldn't then the locker room have been prepared for the fact that when you and him go to war that there was going to be an outcome that somebody was going to win, somebody was going to lose, and it just happened to be you on top?
Listen, you can tell by watching any of our videos. Anyone's a soldier, he was the favorite.
Yes, no, I saw that basically he seemed to be the guy that had the clear edge here in this particular battle. But you're the guy right now that's got the gold.
I mean, I wouldn't want to cheer on the guy that beat my hero. But basically, he was a hero to some of these guys that cheered him on. And
All
boy,
right,
did it feel good knocking the hero down off that mountain.
well, that's why you're the guy on top right now. Guerrilla warfare is coming.
Again, I've called you out. You say nothing but nonsense.
All
I
right.
said I was going to sacrifice you, and you said nothing.
Craven Rage again repeats what you just said. Omen Black, I run this yard, and if you step into my yard or anyone from the IMF, I will make you fall to me. Okay, all right.
Craven, the only way I'll fall to you is by laughing, because how tiny you are compared to me, and how tiny that you could anything you have a chance to do to beat me, you got nothing. And by the way, Craven, I don't fuck up my own move.
Ooh, boy, I'm gonna really try to walk some of that back here on Sportswire because I could see the tension is starting to build here from Iowa and Wisconsin, and you guys are basically like neighbor states, so I guess there's certainly we could probably feel that from
You want to know how
across
you
the.
piss off a guy from Wisconsin?
You tell us because I don't know how.
You tell him bar's closed. That's how you piss him off.
So you're saying that the bar might be closed for Craven Rage right now?
He's not even at the height limit to get into a bar.
Oh. Well, I'm gonna walk away
Or
from
the
that
height limit to get
comment.
ID'd, I should say. You
Well,
know,
he's got a mask on, so how can you actually let someone in the bar? Would be your point because we don't know Craven Rage in terms of how do you know who he is, right? He's got a mask on. That would be the one way to figure it out. But I'm going to walk away from the bar comments here because somebody might want to hit me over the head with a bottle with some of that. But on a lighter note here, before I get to closing thoughts and some other things here, I mean, do talk about the success of the IMF. You guys are in season 2, and you guys have done a lot of big things. And just talk about the success of the company and just what it means to you and to everybody else in the locker room. What you guys have been able to do. Almost 1,000 subscribers on your YouTube page, videos with thousands and thousands of views, and just talk about what that means to you and the rest of the locker room. As now that you're a leader here at the company, and just the amount of people from all over the world that have watched your content.
I mean, I don't want to toot our own horn, but hasn't even been a year, and we're already this successful. And I don't want to break kayfabe, but we do appreciate the support we get. But now going back to character, I don't give a damn what anyone thinks.
So it doesn't. You expect, you're going to get thousands of views regardless, because that's how you are. You are the House of Wolves. You're the champ. You're the guy. So at the end of the day, you are this larger than life character.
I wouldn't be
So
surprised if we get more views.
I think you will. Listen, I think you're going to get, after tonight, I think you're going to get a lot more views because, one of the reasons I was selling the interview to a lot of people off the air, people were asking me, and they were saying, "Who's this Omen Black guy?" And I said, "I'm going to tell you. I know you stay in character when I say this. Stay in character, champ." I'm telling you, you watch this guy. He's a larger than life character. When you see what he does in the ring, this guy is going to be an attraction. He's going to bring casual people out there, and you're going to be so fascinated with this guy because what you do in the ring and everything else, and you would do with kendo sticks and just outside the ring, putting people through tables. I mean, you are certainly a guy that's definitely going to be going place. That's why I could clearly see why you are the IMF champion. But I mean, obviously, we have a show coming up here May the 27th, and I mean, talk about what else we should know about that show in terms of what else to expect here in season 2.
It's just going to be the heir of the house. That's what I should say. I don't think we're going to get beaten at all for these titles. I know my brother Jordan and my brother Freddie are going to hold the tag titles indefinitely until we decide we're going to move on from IMF.
Now, is this
The
also in
same for
part?
Uric.
Well, I was going to ask you a follow up as to why you might feel this way. Now, there's obviously a situation with ownership here that's in place that kind of gives you maybe a little bit of an upper hand here. You want to talk about this situation here with Remington, obviously 49% of the company he holds,
I knew you were going to bring
and
this up.
well, we have to, right? I mean, so let's talk about it. I mean, obviously, you knew it was coming. I mean, we weren't going to walk away without it. So, I mean, talk about this here in the future for you and the rest of the House of Wolves.
Me and Remington have come to an agreement. He scratched my back, I'll scratch his back. I get what I want, I'll do what he wants. If he wants me to take someone out, I'll take someone out. As long as I get what I want, and the house gets what they want.
Do you feel confident that with Remington, he'll give you what you want?
Oh, most definitely.
So
That's
you
how I got my
feel that.
no. That's why I got my no holds barred.
Well, that's why I wanted to ask you. So then you feel confident then that this deal going forward is going to be a win-win, and especially a win for you and the rest of the House of Wolves.
Oh yeah, it's a win-win definitely.
All right. I mean, so obviously we can kind of see where this is going here. I mean, anything else that you want to say to Prince? I mean, obviously we have this show coming up here, this big show on the 27th, and you sure though he should still show up to a no holds barred like this? Because I look at the size of you right now. I look at what you've done here in these different companies. I've looked at what you've done here, even with these different wrestlers in WCE, and I look at Prince, and look, he's a phenomenal wrestler. He's got a lot of talent, but I look at the size of him and the size of you, and you know, I don't know how he could really have much of a chance. No.
All I gotta say is one chair shot. That's all it took. Give me a whole match with no rules. I'll make sure you never show up to IMF again.
Wait. Did you just say what I thought you just said? That if you get what you want, that Prince may never be in the IMF again?
After the match with no holds barred, he'll never show up again. Like I said, I made him run away from one chair shot for 8 months. Wasn't even a match. Now give me an entire match. Come on, Tom.
All right, I had to ask, and obviously I do want everybody, while you can, to go watch that match when it airs on the
I'm gonna
IMF
ask
Wrestling
every
page.
WCE guy to pay attention to that match when it comes.
Is that the reason you say that? Is because this would be kind of a warning or a firing shot to the WC roster, and even especially a Craven Rage, that this is what could happen to you in this ring when it comes to someone like yourself. Is that what you're saying right now?
Exactly. I don't need protection. I don't need to hide behind a mask. I don't need to hide behind management. Yeah, I may have Remington in my pocket, but essentially it's still my show.
But how is that then? How are you different than Craven Rage? Because some would say then
I'm not
obviously.
hiding behind fake or weak opponents. I'm not hiding behind guys who want to dress as a rabbit and talk about hunting souls.
Well, we haven't seen Skulls yet. To be fair, nobody knows what Skulls can bring to the ring. C2K, I've watched him. I will say C2K can take punishment. He's a worthy opponent. I will say C2K would give Craven Rage a run for his money.
And
But
like,
we don't know.
unlike Craven Rage, I'm not a keyboard warrior.
Ooh. I always thought that's the one thing when you say to somebody is a keyboard warrior. That certainly tugs at somebody. I do have a comment here from somebody that says here, well, if it isn't Omen Gray.
Oh, it
Address
isn't
this.
Tay Tay, James Taylor. Hmm.
Somebody you have some history with. Go ahead. What do you want to say?
You know, when I found out you weren't going to show at the Rumble, I wasn't surprised. Hell, I wasn't even surprised that Anthony didn't show up. Maybe you guys knew. Maybe you guys knew something that everyone else should have knew. But that's neither here nor there. James Taylor, when you come to IMF, finally, you know who the new champion is.
So are you saying then that you think that James Taylor still won't come by and challenge you pretty much?
I mean, he didn't show up to the Rumble. He was scheduled.
Maybe he had other matters to attend to, or maybe he knew what the outcome was and he figured, you know
Maybe,
what?
maybe.
Maybe he just didn't want to go through that. He knew that, listen, you were going to be the guy that comes out on top, and maybe that's just what he felt.
Actually, you know what? If anything, little Tay Tay should be thanking me, and I gave him some tips how to beat Soldier.
Well, I have a bunch of comments from him, so I'd like to read them off to you because you might be curious on them, right? And those that are listening and watching might be as well. It's unfortunate, I know, but I had other business matters to attend to. Congratulations on winning the world championship. If I came by, I'd take his little title from him. He also says, no problem. It would only take me about 5 minutes. Soldier also goes and says Taylor never showed because he's scared of Soldier. Now, what's your reactions to all these comments here from Mr. Taylor himself?
I think I can't believe I'm fucking saying this. Sorry for cursing. I can't. Soldier's right. He's scared. He's scared of facing Soldier. But
So you think then that was the correct move then?
yeah. But you know what, Tay Tay? I gave you some. I gave you how to beat Soldier, so you're welcome.
Ooh. And I want everybody while they're at it to please follow Mr. Taylor himself because he does a lot of great things when it comes to streaming games, streaming content, a lot of different things. And he also reacts regularly to all things related to the IMF. So please subscribe to his YouTube page. That's at Taft Taylor. He's got 27,700 plus subscribers. So if you would not subscribe to this guy, definitely go subscribe because you're one of the only few people out there that isn't. I know I'm subscribed, and certainly maybe we want to give Mr. Taylor the floor here on Sportswire Radio at some point here in the near and distant future because certainly he's a man that's in very high demand. Mr. Taylor goes on here, not scared at all. I think Slender Man is more intimidating than Soldier Boy. Ooh. What do you say to that?
I've heard it before.
Okay, Adonis Felios would like to say yet again in due time, Omen, in due time. Also says here, Craven Rage, if Omen Black faces me, I'll send him back to that IMF kindergarten camp he thinks he runs.
Says the guy who wrestles Tyler Ark.
Interesting. Thank you, Sportswire Radio. I subscribe to you, and definitely I'll be in touch with you for sure, champ. I'll definitely want to make sure I get you on one of these days and talk about your story. And then that's anybody. I want to also put this out there, if I can, for a second, before I break back into the comments. Anybody from the IMF locker room that wants a floor, that wants a microphone to request, we'll make it happen here on Sportswire Radio. So I'm definitely willing to talk to anybody here in the company, just as I'm willing to speak with anybody else here from anywhere. So
I'll
if
let
you
my
want
locker
to
room know.
let the locker room know, I'll definitely speak to anybody in the locker room if they want a microphone, and certainly keep it clean. But definitely anybody's welcome here on Sportswire. That's kind of how I like to run things. But Mr. Taylor would like to say, Soldier, you make a Wish version of a dollar store Hogan. That was a good. I haven't heard that one before, but it sounded good at least. Maybe not as good to you, but it sounded good to me. The day will come to facing you inside the WC ring. Okay, well, we'll believe it when we see it. We'll certainly see what happens, but I
Let's
always
see
look.
what Joey does to you first.
That's true. We're going to see it this weekend. I'm looking for, and I will say this about Sean and Joey before I get to a few more questions with you, champ. I know you're a busy man. You've got interview requests down the list. You've got people left and right that are wanting to speak with you. I know you and the House of Wolves have a lot going on here when it comes to just everything else getting ready here for the next show here, and obviously weekly shows on the IMF page. But certainly, I will say it's a new Sean Jovi. He's got a new attitude. What he did to billiards, the way he's come across of late, Sean Jovi right now. I would certainly want to tread very lightly with him if I'm Adonis Felios. But we'll find out. Obviously, we'll recap that here on Sportswire Radio. We'll
Donald's
get
on level.
all right.
I mean,
Also,
Sean
God,
Jovi's not wrestling on mats in a backyard or in a yard behind a Walmart like AIW is.
And you know this for a fact about AIW.
I've watched their stuff. Not
Okay.
impressed.
Not impressed, but certainly not the IMF, though.
I mean, Dash Andrews, he's all right.
Well, I actually have a request here from Mr. Taylor himself. He actually wants to briefly pop on here on Sportswire Radio. Would you like to welcome Mr. Taylor on to say something to the fans here live on Sportswire? Would you like him to come on, or what do you say to that?
Sure, why not?
Okay, well, let me message him here. Let me see if I can find a way to message the champion, a former champion here. Well, actually, I'm trying to figure out how do I message him.
Well, then hell, we might as well just add Soldier Boy to it too.
I'll add anybody. I mean, I just have to figure out. I'll tell you what I actually do. If they're on Instagram or Facebook and they want to send me the link, I'll actually give it to them. But in the meantime, let me figure that out while we kind of buy time here. Let's see if maybe we can round up here. Somebody can forward them the link if they want. I can bring them on here. But yeah, Mr. Taylor, if you have a page here on Instagram or Facebook, send me a request and I'll send you a link. Because for whatever reason on YouTube, I can't quite seem to message you for whatever reason. So if you want to let me know a way to figure that out, we can certainly bring you on here as well as anybody else here on Sportswire. So in the meantime,
One true person I want on here.
what's that?
There's only one true person I really want on. I'll settle for Tay Tay. But Craven Rage.
Who do you really want, though? Who do you really want?
Craven
on?
Rage. Talking all that shit.
Well, I don't know if I can't really necessarily know if that's what Mr. Rage wants. I don't know if Mr. Rage wants to speak with you. Mr. Rage is like you. He's a champion getting ready for his match in the ring. Maybe he's training.
Must spend more time bedazzling that belt.
Well, he's got a nice belt too. You know, I mean, you got a nice belt.
Bedazzled. My knees got better.
All right, well, we wait, and I won't wait too much longer to see if there's a way to figure out if these guys can come on or not. But I did want to ask you in terms of, I mean, what are your goals here coming up in the IMF?
I'm gonna beat the Prince. Now I know I could, and then I'm just gonna be dominant champion, facing whoever. I'll give anyone a shot in IMF or outside IMF. I don't care. I'll do it. I'll beat them. Just like I'll beat Matt Forsaken, how I beat Anthony Steele, how I beat Soldier, how I would beat Craven Rage or Adonis or Nick Crenson or James Marshall. It was
Nicholas Crenson, by the way, has been really, really quiet here. By the way, very quiet. Why do you think
here? I didn't even know he was here.
I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what's happened to Nicholas Crenson. I mean, he's basically
anyone from WCE wanted a shot. I'll give it to him. I'll beat them. Anyone from AIW, I'll beat them.
If you give Nicholas Crenson a title shot, we know it's already a loss, so you shouldn't give him a match for the title.
But it's already. No one will take it.
Yeah, but Nicholas Crenson, it's almost like the Harlem Globetrotters and the Washington Generals. You know it's what the outcome is. You're going to win because he doesn't win in title matches.
I mean, still, I'm a fighting champion. I'll give Nick Crenson a.
Well, I do want to let you know that Mr. Taylor.
It'd be charity work for me.
I just want to let you know that Mr. Taylor should be making his way to Sportswire Radio very shortly for a few minutes. He should be here because we just gave him the link here. So we're just waiting for Mr. Taylor to pop on here. Yep, I see you messaged me, Mr. Taylor. I sent you the link, so you're welcome to hop on here for a couple of minutes before we say. And there he is. You know what? On cue, Mr. Omen Black, we have here Mr. James Taylor himself here. And certainly this was quite a surprise here, but this is what we do here live on the fly. And you've heard some of the things here about the IMF tonight, and certainly from the champion. And nice to speak with you abruptly. And what do you want to say to some of these things here, Mr. Busy Man?
Not that busy. I mean, maybe. But first of all, respectfully, thank you for appreciate the honor for letting me come onto your show. It's my first time learning who you are, so forgive me on that. But
no, it's okay. Trust me, I appreciate that. No, it's okay.
I always like to support a good podcast and everything. Very entertaining. So I'm already subscribed, and I look forward to more content. So I'll definitely be checking you out. Mr. Omen Black. You
Stone
have
Cold Steve
won.
Austin. I mean James Taylor.
You have won.
You weeboo.
You have won the championship. Congratulations. You see what you did in a matter of 20 or so minutes. I could have done easily 3 to 5, no problem.
But yet you didn't show
You
up.
sure about that? I mean,
you know,
you watched the match. Are you sure you'd want to say that?
Oh no, it's a guarantee. See,
Wow.
as far as the backyard world, officially, you see, I just recently celebrated my 39th birthday 2 days ago. Happy birthday!
Listen, happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you very much. And I started my career in late 1998. I have technically been wrestling on and off in the backyard world, little bit indie scene, for 25 years on and off. All that rolled into one is way more than experience than what you've had in the little 6 months to a year that you've had in your little backyard. Because if I walked into your ring tomorrow, I'd make an example out of you in front of your whole locker room, bar none. I've already told you that. I told Soldier Hogan that, and I would say it to you to your face. You had trouble. You needed help from Soldier Boy to take out a man that I beat his ass all over the yard and split his skull wide open. You needed help to defeat him. So what makes you think that you're even in my league, kid?
The fact I showed up. Where were you at?
Okay, I got you.
Now I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna sit here and wait and listen to a Stone Cold Steve Austin promo you want to cut. Go ahead.
It doesn't matter what type of promo.
He cut a lot of them, so go ahead. I'll try to figure out which one you do.
Oh, the shots have been fired tonight. Boy, Mr. Taylor, you come on here and certainly Champ is not in a nice mood tonight.
He don't like me because he knows I'm better than him. I got more talent in this pinky than he does in his whole body. I get it.
I've heard that line before. That line I've heard before in a promo.
Yeah,
I've heard that one in a promo.
Okay, well, what does it matter? I guess actions speak louder than words, right? So when I do show up, just be ready. If you can't be ready, be ready. Because I'll show you.
I know they call you the Tyrant King, but they should call you fucking narcolepsy because you're giving me that as you speak.
Narcolepsy? Is that a problem?
I mean, not for me.
I mean, you're holding your little phone up. All you got to do is hit that little red button down there that says leave, and you won't have to deal with me no more. Other than that, I'm right here. As long as Mr. Radio Guy right here wants me on his show.
You don't know his name.
You know what?
Tom Bryce.
I'm learning. I didn't know his name. Respectfully, Tom Bryce. Nice to meet you, James Taylor. I'd shake your hand if I could. I already like you. You got charisma. You're a great guy. I like this stuff. See, this guy, he knows how to host. But you sit there and you smile a lot as you listen.
You know what? You say
he didn't smile too much tonight. I tell you what, he didn't smile too much tonight. It was more as if he was kind of, in his own way, very boastful tonight because he feels that the roster that in the IMF, also in these other outside companies, is not basically up to par for him. And he feels with his group, which I'm sure you're familiar with very well, the House of Wolves, that they're going to run things not only in the IMF, but the rest of the wrestling world here for whenever they want and how long they want.
Yeah, the House of Puppy Dogs. They look like a bunch of loose, stray puppy dogs from
original stuff or come up with new stuff.
A shelter that's like down the road downtown. So, a bunch of little puppies that nobody wants. And unfortunately, it's pretty sad. I can help find an adoption home for y'all if you need me to. But since you think nobody holds a candle to you, yeah, keep waving the hand. That's a lot of work for you right now. I know it.
I mean, it took forever to get to the point. Come on.
I could see the tension here. I thought you and Craven Rage had tension, but this is nothing compared to you and Mr. James Taylor. Clearly, Omen, you seem a little bit bothered here by this.
I'm just not going to listen to this bullshit this guy says. He didn't want to show up to the Rumble, but why? Because of why, James? I don't want to hear business. You're scared of Soulja.
Well, you don't
want to go face to face with Soulja. Talk all that shit. And now I was the man who beat him. Were you? No, you're at home doing what?
But aren't you glad? Aren't you glad that I didn't show up and throw all those pieces of crap over the rope and go on to win the title? Aren't you glad I wasn't there? Because if I had shown up, you wouldn't have had that opportunity, kid. It would have been all me. But
I wish
you know why, Mr. Tom? Do you understand why he's so aggravated? Because I'm that much better than him.
Well, I see that. I see here that there would have been competition. Maybe I see here that you and Mr. Omen Black wouldn't be. Let's say Craven Rage. We have this back and forth, and remains to be seen. But with you and Mr. Omen Black, you could kind of feel that there's almost like you guys are on a crash collision course. Almost, you guys maybe are like a rock and
he's
an
too
auto.
busy commentating video games. That's what he's.
Well, he's got 27,700 plus subscribers on YouTube. I mean, he's a busy man. Clearly,
I
he's got a lot of followers out there in the world. I mean, you can
I've got
understand why.
By the way,
I've got
shout out to Skippy the Evil Clown. What's up?
I've got yes, Mr. Evil Clown, great guy. I've got 27,000 subscribers on YouTube. I just love to entertain. I've got 34,000 on TikTok. So I guess it's the
That's why we
fact that
brought him
I've
on.
got
Because
more
listen, he's got
fans.
34,000 people on TikTok. I mean, listen, that's why I'm bringing him on. I mean, that's why I brought him on.
When I went to TBW, do you realize I helped bring in almost 2,000 subscribers to their YouTube because I believe in them and they're great. And I would love to do the same when I do come to IMF. Because I didn't show up, I apologize. I had other things I had to attend to, had other stuff in my personal life I had to deal with. But it's beside the point. When I do show up, because I intend on showing up, I promise you, it's going to be the best night IMF has ever had
Was
when
it
I
because
show
Dirty
up.
Donnie scared you?
Huh?
Did Dirty Donnie scare you from showing up because he told you to watch your shit?
Yeah, because every time he smiled, I could smell the breath coming through the screen, so I didn't want to deal with that. So
I mean, we have that in common. We both hate Dirty Donnie. I'll give you that.
Dirty Dan, he's a hell of a character.
Yeah,
Now,
I will say the announcing. I think we're all on the same page there. The announcing there is certainly interesting from him. I'll just say that it's interesting. Let me just put it that way.
so Mr. Tom, you are
Yes,
aware.
sir.
You watch IMF, right?
I have watched IMF. Yes, correct.
You're a fan, right? Kind of.
Obviously, I mean, here on Sportswire, we certainly are very appreciative to work with these different companies, and they're our latest company that we've been made aware of. Absolutely.
So if you want to see a little bit of, since you've seen what Omen can do, and you know what Omen can do, he's a hell of an athlete. Big guy, get in the ring, he can kick some ass.
He can move. He can play with a kendo stick a little bit. He can put people through tables. Yep, he's got the whole spiel down. Yep.
Not gonna blow a bunch of smoke up your ass, kid. You're the world champ. You're a champion for a reason. You've done what you've done so far in this business. You got a lot to learn still. You ain't met me yet. But if you would so kindly, whenever you get time, Mr. Tom Bryce, out of your day, whenever you're not busy, go on my channel. Take a look at my playlist. I have a playlist called the Nemesis Matches. You can see a lot of my matches on there. You can see what I'm all about. Got a big match coming up with Mr. J Wild, somebody that this man actually wants to face one day. And I can arrange for something like that for that to happen. I already arranged Anthony Steele. I can arrange other matches. But if he wants to keep being a little smart ass, I'm just going to have to give him the match he probably would dread the most. And that would be me.
All right. Well, I want everybody to follow. I know you're busy. I know you're a busy man, Mr. Taylor, and I'll leave you with this. Obviously, I want everybody to follow you on Instagram at Taff_Taylor. Also, subscribe to your YouTube page at Taff Taylor. Also, TikTok, subscribe to you. And certainly, we'd love to have you on one day as a standalone here after we watch some of your content, watch what you do here with these streams. So definitely, you have an invitation anytime. We'll definitely talk afterwards. But I know you're a busy man here, and I want to get to the champ's closing thoughts. So what do you leave us here with? What are you promoting next? Where are you going to be so we can watch you and talk about some of those things, or anything else you want to say to anybody watching and listening to us tonight here live around the world?
Me or him?
You.
Oh, okay. So pay attention to Tennessee Backyard Wrestling. There is a pay-per-view coming up called Vendetta. I have a one-on-one match against one Jay Wild, the Prophet Jay Wild.
I've heard of Mr. Wild very well because we actually know a little bit about TBW because one of our streamers here earlier, Mr. C2K, is supposed to be coming to TBW. I'm sure you've heard the name C2K, or maybe you haven't, but 30-year veteran, and he popped in with a couple of words to Mr. Black, and he's coming to the TBW, I want to say, I think in July, if I'm not mistaken, to TBW. So that's a name you might want to hear about, C2K.
That's interesting. I have heard that name. when he shows up, that'd be great. I'd love to meet him in person. He's a veteran like me. He
Yep.
actually has a few more years than me, but
Yeah, he does have a few more years on you. I'll give you
it
that.
really does matter about the experience and all that, and it'd be great to meet him for sure. Just like it would be great to meet Omen Black. I'm not gonna kiss your ass, kid. I promise you. I respect you. I respect the fact that you are the champion. But I'm gonna have this match against Jay Wild. So if you're not so busy in your championship days, why don't you watch Vendetta? It's going to be next Sunday. Watch Vendetta live on YouTube, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Tennessee Backyard Wrestling. You watch what James Taylor does to Jay Wild, and you'll get a hint of what James Taylor would do in IMF. I promise you that. And on top of that, season 2 of the Nemesis Sessions has started, and that's my podcast as well. It's a playlist of that. You can check it out. Wouldn't mind having you one day on there, Tom. That'd be great. You could come on my podcast as well if you ever get bored. I'd love to
I'll
join
talk to
you for
anybody.
sure.
So at this point, I'll talk to anybody, including the phone book at this point. So
Yeah, I'd definitely love to come on yours as well. But Mr. Omen Black, I'd like to have you as a standalone on my channel one day if you feel froggy enough. I've already had IMF once before, but hey, it is always good for a guest request is basically what I've got.
Ooh.
And I got a few guys that would like to meet you, an old soldier boy. So whenever you're feeling froggy and you just dial me up or text me or send me a finger, send me a smoke signal, whatever you want to do, and I promise you we'll get you booked on there because I know a couple of guys that would like to meet you in person.
All right, all
So,
right. Fair enough there. All right, so we appreciate the few minutes you gave us here, Mr. Taylor. Looking forward to that show, and certainly looking forward to some coverage here at TBW in the future. I know we were supposed to do a spot. I actually think this week, but I don't think we had the things come up here, but we'll definitely make that happen. We'll watch the show. We'll subscribe to the TBW page, so we'll definitely have coverage of that for sure. And I thank you for your time and thank you for all you do. And I look forward to having you on here as well as standalone, maybe after next week's show.
I look forward to it for sure. Well, guys, Omen, is there anything else you'd like to say to me before I go? I know this is your show right now. This is your episode, but I wanted to come on here respectfully, give you my thoughts, but also tell you I respect you, kid.
I hope you do show up, James.
All right. All right, short, simple, and to the point. And that was here, Mr. James Taylor. Of course, please follow him on YouTube at Taft Taylor, Taft_Taylor on Instagram, also TikTok. Also, see him in the ring next Sunday for our friends over in Tennessee Backyard Wrestling against Mr. Wild himself. Thank you, my friend. We will speak with you soon. And thank you. And really enjoyed this impromptu appearance here in Sportswire. You never know what you can get, as old Forrest Gump used to say. Life is a box of chocolates.
Exactly. Hey, I'll catch your asses down the road and we'll see you later.
All right. That was here before we get to closing thoughts, Mr. James Hill. You never know what could happen here, Mr. Black. I do have some comments before I get to your closing thoughts. Soldier says, blah, blah, blah. Shut the hell up. Show up. Fight me. Zero Day says, hopping on a Sportswire show, being surrounded by plushies and stuffed animals is certainly a choice. Yeah. Well, it works for him, right? Who's going to argue? He's got 27,700 subscribers on YouTube, 34,000
Every time I see James, there's always a couple more plushies. It just keeps going on and on and on.
So you don't have any plushies then in your home? No, right? Move on. Move on, you think? All right, we'll move on. Taylor should be worrying about me. All right, fair enough. Not old man Taylor. Isn't it past your bedtime? Well, it might be now. Adonis Felios would like to thank me and still number one in pro wrestling and many other sports. Yes, we do college basketball here. I want to remind everybody about that. So when we do not wrestling, we do a lot of college basketball here in the tri-state area. And for those watching on Facebook and other supportive social media apps, the heart of the show, that is to be Sportswire Radio. Good night. Godspeed. Until next time, Sportswire Radio. All right, champ, I know you're a busy man. And I want to give you this opportunity to say any closing thoughts, anything else you might want to say to those that are listening and watching, hearing you for the first time. Any final thoughts for Prince, your opponent at next month's big show? Anybody else out there you want to say something to, whether it's in another company, Mr. Taylor, whoever else it might be, any other social media you have out there that we haven't got a chance to plug? I give you the floor, and anything else is on your mind, fire away.
Prince, you're my next opponent, and at Bash the Barn. and no holds bar, and whoever that other third opponent is, I don't know, don't care. He just better not get in the way from all the destruction and all the torture I'm going to put you through. As Tom said, I know my way around a kendo stick. Now, Dark Kron, you won the Rumble in the Yard match. So now you have a match at Rage in the Cage against me for the world title. Well, if you wrestle anything like Matt Forsaken, you're going to be a walk in the park. And now you, Craven, talk all this shit. You want to shoot on me in your match, do a move on Matt Pack, or what's Matt Packer?
Mark Packer? It's Mark Packer. At least it's Mark Packer.
Who cares? I want to do my move, but yet still fuck it up, like how you fuck up your own move. Keep shooting on me, because when IMF shows at WCE, who's going to stop me from getting to you?
But, before we go, did you just say when you show up to WCE?
Just saying. Crazy things happen.
Well, that's true.
We showed DKW. They weren't expecting us.
That's true. I mean, you guys did go there. I mean, apparently, according to some, if you read the internet, CM Punk was backstage at a WWE show. If you read that stuff, we do a lot of wrestling coverage on Sportswire with professional wrestlers, and I tried not to read that stuff, but
I'll take on anyone I have to get to Craven Rage. Anyone. I'll take on Tyler Ark. I'll waste my time with Tyler Ark. I'll waste my time with Adonis, Princeton, Catalyst, Darkfire, Big Train, whoever the hell he is, Mason Black. I'll waste my time with
Big Train's a name I haven't heard a while in WC. I haven't heard that name in ages. Big Train. Yeah, that's a name I haven't heard of. Wow, okay, you're going way back out there. I mean, at least you didn't mention...
Kid, I'll take him on just to get to Craven. I don't care.
You can't,
Jake
though.
Stereo. Zero. I may like you, but I'll still whoop your ass.
Okay, but Kodak Kid, you can't wrestle because he actually has a neck injury. He's actually out, so you got to give an X to him. Maybe Dash Andrews throw out there. Dash Andrews is a name you could throw out there. Or at least you didn't mention the guy that walked out in the company, the guy that was basically, he was so afraid, to be fair, he was so afraid of Craven Rage, he basically walked away from the company. Just basically said, that's not you. All right. Well, I kind of got that sense anyway. But ladies and gentlemen, this was Mr. Omen Black. He is the reigning defending IMF World Heavyweight Champion. You can follow the IMF on IMF_wrestling on Instagram, YouTube, IMF Wrestling 667. Also, Facebook, they have a page. Go and like. And no social medias for you, the champ. So I was going to wonder, do you have an Instagram page we could follow of any sorts?
I don't do all that stuff.
Because you're the champion. You're too big for that stuff. You have no time for that. I understand. You're a busy man.
IMF has a Facebook. Go follow IMF.
I did. I got that. I plugged YouTube and I got Instagram. So we got all that out of the way. So, champ, you got.
Even though I hate it, but go follow DKW. Show them support.
Yes, we subscribe to them on YouTube and we follow them. DKW, we certainly would love to have them on anytime in the future. Certainly our friends over at the DKW, we can follow them, I believe, at DKW.
Dark Cryptic Wrestling.
Yes, I was actually about to say that, but okay, fair enough. But you did the plugs for me because you know him better than anybody else because you obviously beat him in their house. So who am I to argue? But champ, I want to thank you for the opportunity. Congratulations on the win last week. Looking forward to May 27th. Looking forward to more wars with the DKW and who knows who else and where and when. And thank you for the opportunity tonight.
No problem. Thanks, Tom, for having me on. Craven, I'm coming.
Ooh, certainly we'll have to find out. And ladies and gentlemen, we were on Sportswire Radio with, of course, that is the champion from the IMF, Mr. Omen Black. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryson. If you're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, I'll be back on tomorrow with the CCW's Dustin Hart. And I'll also be on with Wildfire and Aries. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in here on the #1 global radio station that is Sportswire Radio. Good night, everybody.